Okay, so I've realized that over the last year or so that I've been in Merida, Mexico, there have actually been a decent amount of questions being asked. And while I did answer these in their various forms, whether it was on Facebook or in the comment section, I thought I would answer them all for you, just in case you guys aren't the type of people to read all of the comments in a video. So here we go. All right, so this one came from Okima, which is, what are some of your favorite stores or neighborhood places that a mom may like to visit? So right now, a lot of places are unfortunately still closed in terms of kid places, but there's a lot of parks here in Merida that I love going to. So Bepenza is one, Aleman is one, Parque Calia is a new one that I've discovered recently. So there's a lot of parks that I enjoy going to, but I believe it was October, November timeframe that Cenotes and Ruins started to open back up. So I highly recommend, if you don't know already, Lucy from Bonita Merida Tours, I'll put her link below. She is an amazing resource for visiting cenotes, ruins, or just getting a tour of Merida in general. So great resource to have fun with your kids. And of course, we enjoy eating out. My favorite Mexican style places to go would be La Lupita, which is located in Mercado Santiago, as well as Mercado 60. Both of those locations have kind of a food court environment where there's lots of different restaurants to try. And probably our favorite like standalone Mexican restaurant right now is Pastor Suizo. And there are 2 locations in Merida that you can choose from. We enjoy both. Okay, so this one is a question I've gotten a lot from a lot of different people, but basically it is, why did I choose Mexico for braces? The cost. And can you get your braces started in Mexico, but then go to the US and finish your braces? So it didn't make sense to me at first, but now that I have braces and I kind of know a little bit more about the process, I feel like I understand why. The answer is no. No, you unfortunately cannot go to Mexico or some other location, start braces, and then finish them somewhere else. The basic reason for this is when you're paying for braces, you're actually not paying for the braces. You're not paying for the metal or the plastic or the wires and all that jazz. What you're really paying for is the expertise of the orthodontist, and therefore, similar to any other like cost of living thing, in the US, braces cost thousands of dollars, while in Mexico, it costs hundreds. Now, your new orthodontist in the US may not actually physically remove the old braces, but nonetheless, in order to pay for their time, and again, you're not paying for tightening per se, so much as the dentist has to look at your teeth and figure out how to move it, where to move it, when to move it, why. Like there's a lot more that goes on with the movement of teeth. And so generally I would say that if you're gonna get braces in Mexico and you happen to live in the US, either be willing to come down every time you get the teeth tightened or just get braces in the US, because paying for it twice would be annoying. If you're interested in the name of my orthodontist, it is a married couple, Ali and Pepe Medina, and I'll put their contact information in the description. They do speak both English and Spanish, so if you would rather speak to an English-speaking dentist, then they are the ones I definitely recommend. And I found them through recommendations from local expats. They're definitely very used to dealing with expats. And that was our forever family specifically wanting to know the name of my orthodontist. And Yaslin, again, can you get the braces tightened in the US? Generally, that's going to be no. Although, when in doubt, ask your dentist, ask your orthodontist if that's something that they'd be willing to do. But again, you're not just tightening them. Like they have to study your teeth, know your teeth in order to know how to tighten them. Zaina Nicole asked, where do I get my water from? My drinking water comes delivered in these giant jugs, as well as, of course, I can just go to the store and buy bottled water if I would like. But they are pretty heavy, so of course I might prefer for my water to be delivered. Our Brave Adventure asks, what have you learned from being in Mexico for a year? So much. In terms of the entire year, a lot of it was also during COVID, right? During the official lockdown. And I think what I learned from both being in Mexico and the lockdown is, if I have to get locked down again, I would rather be in Mexico, specifically Merida, because they've got so many ways to get things delivered to me. With the exception of the Uber situation, for the most part, there was really no stress while I was in lockdown. So yeah, if I have to be locked down, this is the place to be for sure. Mom on a journey, how much is 300 pesos in dollars? So of course, the exchange rate changes every single day, but approximately 300 pesos would be 15 US dollars. Deirdre Bisonette asks, did you look into other schooling options there in Merida, or did you know homeschool was the best fit from the go? I definitely knew that homeschool was the best fit, mostly because I didn't know how long I would be staying in Merida. When I retired from the Navy, I started in RV life, so I knew we were going to be moving frequently, and I couldn't guarantee internet access or power. Like, I just didn't know, right? I didn't know what I could guarantee. And so homeschooling was the easiest option for us to do. So there are lots of local schools here, but I find now that we've done homeschooling for so long that Alex is not too keen on being in a classroom environment, and honestly, I enjoy homeschooling / unschooling, and so I don't see that changing anytime soon. In reference to the Cenote, Mom on a Journey asks if the water was cold, and no, yes. So I didn't think it was that cold. Alex thought it was a little bit cold, but ultimately I have not met a cenote that was so cold we couldn't jump in it. Although, if you find a cenote that's completely enclosed, so cenotes are essentially sinkholes, and some are fully enclosed in a cave, some are partially enclosed, and some are completely open. As a general rule, of course, the ones that are completely enclosed, essentially you're swimming in the dark, right? You're swimming in a cave. That water will, of course, be noticeably colder. But for me, even the partially enclosed ones are not cold. I'm in Merida, which is a warm location, and often that cold water is the best. Bernie Lee asks, I'm coming with just me and my service dog. Can you tell me anything about travel with a dog in Merida and Mexico as well? Uber, ADO, Colectivos, and flying. Henry, our dog, is not a service dog, so of course, it's not going to follow the exact same rules, but because he's little, he was able to fly in the cabin, and I believe even through COVID that you can still travel with a service dog, not an emotional support dog. Before you fly, just make sure you contact the airline to confirm. I'll also say that even pre-COVID, it was a really good idea to call the airport and let them know that you've got a dog coming, all of that jazz, because they're gonna wanna know like the dimensions of the cage and the weight of the dog in the cage, and that's information you wanna have readily available before you show up, right? In terms of Uber, a service animal should be respected in the Ubers. So in the ADO buses, if your dog is a service dog, and I'm not 100% sure what paperwork they would need to prove that, then they can ride in the coach with their owner. Otherwise, all dogs, regardless of size, have to travel in the cargo. And I've seen the cargo locations, there's not like an AC unit down there, there's no, it's not made for animals. So I would not recommend an ADO for any animal, with the exception of a service animal who you should be able to get onto the ADO bus. I have never actually been in a Colectivo. A Colectivo is essentially a large van that will transport you various places. I have yet to go in one, so I do not know. She also asked, where is Cielos, which is a store that sells hammocks here in Merida, Mexico. I'll put that link below, but it is in Centro. There's actually a couple of locations, but the one I've gone to is in Centro, not very far from the Merida Cathedral. Martin Diaz asks, in Merida, have you seen any Asian restaurants like Thai or Vietnamese? So we definitely have Asian food. The Korean Grill is probably my favorite Asian location. There are several places for sushi or ramen. We have Chinese food here. There is also Thai food, and we also have Vietnamese. So yes, we've got lots of Asian food options available to you. They are going to be, as you can expect, different than perhaps what you're used to wherever you are. But as everyone knows, sushi in the US is not the same as sushi in Japan, and you're gonna have that same experience in Mexico. Sushi, for example, in Mexico almost always has Philadelphia cheese inside of it. You can, especially if you go to the restaurant itself, you can request it without the Philadelphia cheese, but it's something that's very popular here in at least Merida. Live Studio asks, is there a limit on the number of people in taxis in Merida or Cancun? Cancun I'm not sure about, but I believe Cancun is either the same as Merida or possibly more lax. I'm not 100%, but here in Merida, the general rule is 3 customers, although I have seen some slight exceptions to that rule, but I would say it's probably less likely that you'll find an Uber driver comfortable with holding more than 3 people. And in fact, there are some Uber drivers that prefer 2 people or less. And in the many times that I've taken Henry to the park or the doctors, I've had one Uber driver that looked really uncomfortable with having Henry sitting on my lap. But so far, the only time I've ever had an Uber driver refuse us is during the lockdown period, the really strict lockdown period. There used to be a 1 person per Uber rule, as well as a child could not not go into an Uber unless they were going to a hospital or doctor of some sort. So that was the only time that it was super restrictive, but right now, you generally can have 3 customers in an Uber. So Alchemist asks if you have to apply for a 6-month visa or if you can just show up and be given the visa. So of course, each country is treated differently. I am a US citizen. When I show up with my US citizen passport, assuming everything is normal, then you should be able to get your 6-month visa. But just know that the INS officer is not obligated to give you 180 days. So yes, we are taking somewhat of a risk. Same for if you enter Mexico through land, if you're gonna drive through to Mexico. There's no guarantee of 6 months. I don't have any personal friends that have not been able to get the 180, although I have heard rumors of people, especially people that are coming to Mexico through Belize. Apparently sometimes they have issues with getting the 180 and will sometimes only get 7 days. And I have no idea why the 7 vice the 180. Lisa Ann asked if I moved to Merida without having visited first. Yes, I absolutely did. Of course, I did my research online and I made sure I connected with people via Facebook groups, and I chose Merida because Amoya Shante, specifically from Single Moms Do, she was located here and she was somebody that I wanted to get to know a little bit better. There's a very large and growing expat community here in Merida, and so I knew that I would have lots of expat support if I needed it. So yeah, site unvisited, same for Airbnb. I check all the pictures and I look at all the reviews and such, but I don't get eyes on property before I show up. Although if I were to get a lease, then yes, I would definitely look at the home first. But yeah, no, generally sight unseen, I just go. Live Studio asks, does the co-working space have meeting rooms that you can rent or book out privately? Now this one was in response to my video where I talked about El Orden del Chaos, the Order of Chaos, which is a restaurant, a business coffee restaurant where they have excellent Wi-Fi. They only have 1 room upstairs that you can rent out, but it's not a quiet space. Like, you're still exposed to all the sounds that are in the restaurant, so you can hear whatever's happening in the kitchen as well as people talking. So it's not an isolated space that's super quiet. But I bring my son there because he can enjoy the restaurant and he can kind of do his own thing. Like, we can make noise and nobody's gonna get upset. There are co-working spaces here in Merida. Connection 60 is a popular location where they have actual quiet offices and spaces for you to work in. But I don't know how child-friendly they are, and so I have not been to them myself. Okay, this video is officially long enough, so we're gonna end it here, but I will answer further questions some other time.